Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws Podcast with East Forest, and I'm Mr. Forrest. And today we are releasing another single from my album, Music for the Deck of the Titanic. This is the third single, and this one I'm pretty excited about because it features our friend and the comedian Duncan Trussell. And I wasn't going to have any spoken word on this album, or I wasn't planning on it, but then I had an idea of, I reached out to Duncan. I said, hey, what if we kind of did a podcast and then I sample your voice, and then I think I said art delights. You rant, art delights. So we did that, and I've released the podcast. It's the one with Duncan Trussell, but today you get to hear what I did with that recording. And we put it to music, and it just fit perfectly. I'm not even sure Duncan has heard this. We had dinner once in Austin a few months back, and he was saying he doesn't like to listen to himself talking. So I don't know if he's heard this, but I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for him allowing me to experiment and feature his words this way. And I think it's just a beautiful, wonderful message. So I'll play a bit of that song at the end of this, but you can hear it now in full fidelity wherever you listen to music. And there's also going to be, or is, I'm not exactly sure when the video is coming out, but the video is incredible. It was done by David Lobser, and it is one of the trippiest, most psychedelic things I've ever seen. So head over to East Forest Music on YouTube to catch that. It's like, it took hundreds of hours of rendering to make that video, and it's like some ridiculous amount of processing power and time. And it shows it because it's just like this continual morphing using some AI tools, but a lot of like handheld direction of where it should go. It's kind of an interesting merging of like the human and the AI and what you can do with that in the visual landscape right now. And I think it's kind of the perfect marriage with Duncan and who he is and sort of the rapid speed of this song. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome. So thank you again to Duncan. And again, this is the full conversation, kind of a replay in case you missed it. So you can kind of re-ingest the full scope of the hour-long conversation. And when you hear the song, you're like, oh, okay. I can kind of see where the edits were made or how it was put together to make a little scope, a little narrative, as it were. Yeah. So I'm going to be in Dublin, God willing, and we're still, as I recorded this, on the 30th of July before I leave for Europe, and London's planned too. So please check out our dates. They're just in a few days before I head back home at eastforest.org/tour. And thank you for listening to this podcast and to all the music that we're putting out there. I really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone on the council. That's patreon.com/eastforest. That's a great way to support the project and hear songs like this in advance, demos, our monthly Zoom council, and a lot more. Okay, y'all, enjoy this replay of this wonderful conversation with the great Duncan Trussell, and thank you for spreading this very unique and beautiful message of this song. You go round and round until we come back to the things that maybe are closest to us, or maybe the answer's been all along. So you once told me, this is many years ago, we were standing on the streets of Hollywood.
Okay.
And one phrase you said stuck in my mind. And you were saying, what if the next Messiah is a meme? And tell me more if your thoughts have evolved on that. But do you think the next Messiah could be a meme?
Well, I mean, yeah. I was reading in some Buddhist text that there are apparently realms where there has yet to be a Buddha. So in other words, if you're born into a realm in a human form, or any form really, but in whatever the particular part of the multiverse you're in, there's been a Buddha. And we have Shakyamuni Buddha. Then it's incredibly lucky, like insanely lucky to be like post-Buddha, so to speak, downstream. But in the stories of Shakyamuni Buddha, they go into all the different incarnations leading up to him gaining realization. And I was just thinking like, holy shit, if, you know, I was like sitting in my bathtub because our shower's not working. I feel like I need to defend the fact that I was taking a bath. I don't know why I hate baths. But I was looking at all that water in there, all the little water particles, and I was thinking like, wow, we're hanging out here in the bathtub just for this tiny little bit of time. I'm going to press a button and you're headed down the drain. God knows where you're going to go to. You're going to get evaporated. You're going to go into the sewers. You're going to go on the floor. A little bit of you is going to drip on the floor. Some of that, all of it, eventually, it's going to end up in a human, maybe part of a human, as a human. And then I was thinking, my God, you might end up is a tiny little water particle inside the next Messiah, the next Buddha, the next awakened being. So I think the meme idea, do I think like, will an actual meme be a Buddha? Can a Buddha be a meme? I don't know. But I think that every little drop of novelty and data that comes from an intention of helping could, in the same way that the water particles might end up becoming part of a Buddha, then all those little memes and all the little aspects of whatever it is floating around are probably eventually going to coalesce into something so remarkable that people would call it a Buddha.
That's was Thich Nhat Hanh the next Buddha? Is the Sangha the community? I mean, that's almost like the idea if we have an internet or a meme that like it's almost like the next Messiah is essentially these amalgamation of all information or constituent parts, or it has to be like it's bigger than an individual.
Yeah, I love that idea. Decentralization is so wonderful and important. And whatever the thing may be, I imagine it's so far outside of what you could even imagine that but it's fun to think about, isn't it? It's fun to think about. No one ever talks about the Buddha's grandmother.
Would the Buddha be tweeting if the Buddha was around, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume so, right? Like, why not? Yeah. It seems like he was using all the technologies available to him when he gained realization as a method of communication to beings about what he had discovered. So, yeah, I imagine that it wouldn't be, I doubt that he wouldn't use Twitter.
Well, that actually answers sort of your question. It's like, yeah, if the Buddha was around, of course, if he's using modern tools and technology, then perhaps it would be a mechanism of that technology itself, or maybe it's already happening. You know, maybe the Messiah, or it's some kind of happening that where it's right in front of our eyes, in a sense, hidden in this sea of information. In a way. I think that's the other cool thing about this line of thinking is, you know, at least personally, you could accidentally make the assumption that the work is done, so to speak. You know, there was a Buddha. The Buddha's no longer with us in physical form. There's a world religion called Buddhism. Yeah.
As though it had somehow like peaked or something like that, when it's very possible that we're in the initial unfolding of the Dharma or the turning of the wheel, it's some even advanced place, because the Four Noble Truths really, there's lots of people who don't even know what they are on the planet right now. You know, there's lots of people who have no idea, who think the Buddha is like this fat thing you see in restaurants,
in gardens. He's a statue.
It's a statue in gardens. Like, yeah, exactly. Or if you're like trying to buy a house in LA, every fucking house they throw a Buddha on the wall. I don't know what that is.
It costs more money, that's for sure.
It does. Drives up the cost.
Well, then, speaking of like modern tools, then like let's talk about, you know, like music and what you can do these days, like on a laptop or podcast, or all the things we can make creatively. maybe like just riffing on this continual theme of Messiah or a new like awakening. Maybe it's through like creativity and it being so. I mean, what we're doing right now is a sort of like joint collaborative thing over technology that then morphs into another form like music.
Yeah.
And it's like we're in this mashup period where like all creative forms just kind of get blended into one sandwich. And I'll riff this into what I was going to ask you. So I had this thought that comedians serve this role in modern society as shamans because they're like these tricksters that are super popular right now and have a lot of power, and there's so many of them, but they're actually quite subversive and like showing the mirror to us of so many things, which they've always done. But like, what do you think about the comedian as a shaman today?
Okay. I don't know if you saw Norm Macdonald's new special.
I did see some of that. Yeah.
Did you see the thing where he said he hates or maybe it was an interview. He's just talking about how he hates the term comedian philosopher because he feels horrible for the philosophers in the world be like, because like we're, I think here's what's real. One of the qualities of a fool, which comedians are, is that we will take on pretty much any role you assign to us, no matter how lofty. In fact, the more lofty, the better, which is why you will see this thing happen with comedians where all of a sudden they've gone from being funny people to it appears that they have like a really intense agenda to transform the planet for the better, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but all of a sudden you realize that they've fallen into a classic trap, which is somebody, God forbid you call a comedian a philosopher. It'll go straight to their head and then they'll start thinking they're a philosopher. Next thing you know, they're acting like they think they're a philosopher. They act like a philosopher. This is just a part of being a fool. Same with shaman, I would say. You tell a comedian they're a fucking shaman. Watch out, man, because it's a mirror. It's a funhouse mirror. So the thing's going to get digested into it. Part of, I think, being funny is that it's not like you're going to ironically think of yourself as a shaman. You're going to really start believing you're a fucking shaman. And then you're going to do embarrassing things. You're going to fuck up so bad. It's going to be a mess, and you're going to cause a mess and feel dumb causing the mess. So I don't believe in I think anyone I think comedians, there is a mystical aspect to like comedy and the way that it sort of funhouse mirrors whatever default reality is in certain ways that can be quite liberating if you're really stuck in default reality. But what I love about the great tricksters in like mythology, like Loki, Coyote, they're not doing it because they're trying to help. It just accidentally turns out that it helps. They don't mean, they're not like, I'm going to be a vehicle for the divine. Usually they're like doing something really quite nefarious, selfish, ridiculous, but then somehow from the grace of the divine, that insanity, actually, you realize that chaos was a very important part of the recipe for what was coming next, for the good thing that was just around the corner. You couldn't have gotten there without the chaos. You couldn't have gotten there without a fool being part of it. That's why the tarot card, the major arcana, it starts with a fool. To me, that is the perfect embodiment of every comedian I've ever met, which is they're walking off a fucking cliff in the Rider-Waite fool, walking off a cliff, wearing ridiculous clothes, little dog at their feet, looking up so that they don't see that they're about to go toppling down. They've got a tiny, stupid knapsack on a stick, surely not enough to survive whatever dumb journey they're on. They've just thrown it all together, not thinking about anything, put on what they thought was their best clothes, got their dog there, right off a fucking cliff. Right off a cliff. And they were probably thinking, I'm a shaman. I'm going to go on my shaman journey. I'm going to go teach people. I'm a philosopher. And then, you fall off a cliff. And that's the beginning of the journey.
They're vehicles for something else. the cosmic joke, right? Let's say that's part of the design of all that is. So in some ways, like we're all just vehicles for something bigger. Like all creativity, whatever the hell we make, I just feel we're more responsible and can be proud of like, hey, I have the will to try, or I sat down and started typing on the
Yeah.
keys, whatever the hell comes through. You know, I don't know. That's all it is. It's the muse. But like, with that in mind, there does seem to be this cosmic joke. There's what do you have to say about that? What does that mean to you? That does seem to be embedded into this vast, infinite consciousness and wisdom. Perfection is
Yeah.
that trickster and that absurdity.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
weirdness.
I can remember when I was a kid, an adult would tell you a ghost story. Now, the ghost story would probably not, like, if we heard it now, it wouldn't be scary. But as a kid, it's easy to get scared. You don't, my children, they like, God, I played, well, it is kind of terrifying. I was playing Elden Ring for like 2 seconds in front of my youngest child, and he just immediately started crying, looking at that world. It's so depressing. And he's just like, what is that? Crying. But, the cosmic giggle thing, or the cosmic joke, or all that, I think a compassionate parent should be willing to, when a kid's old enough, tell a ghost story to your kid. It's fun to be scared. But if you're a really good storyteller, you can twinkle, you can wink, you can make something funny happen in a story, or you can look at the scared person in a way that doesn't necessarily take away the horror of whatever story you're telling, but reminds them this is just a story. Everything's fine. Then they can enjoy the horror, the fear, and also get that wonderful sense of like, oh, right, this is a story that I got too absorbed into. So I think that cosmic joke thing, those are just little sparkles in there from some compassionate, from the divine, that's there for you, so that in the midst of that moment, when you're in the midst of the most horrible thing, somehow you're laughing, or something funny is happening, or there is within it a sense of like, yes, this is sad and heartbreaking and terrifying and scary, and yet somehow there's something in it that's incredibly liberating and funny.
Is that grace then? In a way, like the cosmic joke that's grace cutting through, so that it's just not too heavy.
Yeah, it's gotta be. I mean, there's a different, to me, whatever that is going to communicate in all available ways. I've heard it said that when people talk about like shamanic ecstasy, I'm a shaman now. They
sounds like philosophy.
It's possible to have ecstatic fear, ecstatic anger, ecstatic joy, and this is why in Bhakti Yoga, any way of relating to the divine, or any way that the divine is relating to you, is perfect, even if that way is in an adversarial way. Which is why I'm sure you know this. Krishna has 2 moms. Did you know this?
I've heard this.
Because Krishna,
allegedly, yes.
Yeah, 2 moms. One of the moms was a demon who came to try to kill baby Krishna by breastfeeding and giving him poison. And so he sucks all of the poison milk out of the demon, killing the demon, essentially just sucking like a spider, like sucking all the demonic juice out of this being that came to destroy him. And that mother is worshipped and is considered to be awakened, because that being was annihilated by God. So in that, if you are so angry at the divine that you're singularly focused on hating God or hating the divine or hating it, because the thing that you're hating is the source of all intelligence and love and joy and pleasure in the world, that even though the connection is one of hate, the thing you're connecting to over time will gradually begin to fill you up with love, so that there's no difference. As long as you're connecting with the supreme identity, you're going to transform. You're going to wake up. So I think that's really quite beautiful. And so maybe that's what the cosmic giggle is. Maybe that cosmic joke is just one of the many facets of this divine thing, the source of all intelligence. One of the ways it shows up is from that very hilarious facet of reality.
It is strange, though, that, like, I mean, we take humor for granted. We take even things like music for granted. And when you try and step back from it, you're like, I mean, I'm glad we have them. It's the same way, like, we enjoy looking at flowers. We find them beautiful. But it's a bit interesting that, like, we have these things like music or we have jokes. Like, it's very difficult to even describe, like, what a joke or humor even is. Yet it's so fundamental to, like, the human experience. And there must, like you said, when you think about all that is, I mean, of course it's going to have everything. But it's interesting even at all that everything includes jokes or like beautiful music, like chords and rhythms can make you feel all sorts of things. It's just weird. That's all. I think it's beautiful, but, like, you know, you play that to a fly or a deer or something, and to them it's nothing. It resonates with us for some particular reason. And you know, like music, for instance, is like just math and stuff. That's embedded into, like, the structure of the universe. You see it everywhere in a sense.
Yeah.
Humor, I don't know. Is there humor in the shape of a galaxy? Maybe, probably, but you know, we haven't yet to, like, understand that. It's weird.
Yeah, well, I think the setup's too fucking long for whatever that joke is, man. You're going to have to live longer than 80 years if you want to get to the punchline of a galaxy.
Yeah. Good. Well, this is a bit of a side thing on music. I started thinking about, like, what music is and how strange it is. And I started thinking about alien communication, and what if they were doing it in such a way that was so creative and sly that music itself is like a communication through other entities or intelligences working through humans? Or maybe what if that's what creativity is?
Yeah. I've heard things that, like, math itself is an alien life form. I don't know if you've heard that before, but that math is an alien life form that shows up as math. You know, I think that it could be. I mean, it could be. Let's say it was an alien life form, or that music itself was a communication mechanism for aliens. Anyone who's been to a great rave has thought that for sure. You're like, clearly this is going to summon a UFO. This whatever's happening. I've been that high at raves where you're like looking up at the sky, certain, like, this is a ship must come. This music is so good. I don't know, and maybe this is a little cynical of me, but let's say we did find out that music is coming to us from aliens. I don't know that's going to change anything at all. You know, like, I feel like I'm excited for the aliens. I'm excited for the grand revelation of the galactic brotherhood or sisterhood or fraternity or sorority or whatever the fuck it is, council, whatever it may be. I'm excited for that, but I don't know how much it's going to change anything when it comes to being a human. I think it's just going to create a nice couple of years, probably, where we're all like, holy shit, we're part of the Galactic Federation. But then you're going to get annoyed. UFOs are going to wake you up at night. You know what I mean? Like, now that they're coming to the planet and they're open, when a helicopter flies over, it'll go from being like, fuck a UFO to like, get the fuck out of our neighborhood. You're bright and loud and radioactive, you know? So I don't know if anything changes that much. Do you ever think about that? Like, let's say the Buddha does show up. Let's say the grand thing happens. Jesus rides in on the lion or whatever. The thing is shown, the great unveiling. You know, then what?
Well, I have to say, like, if aliens landed tomorrow, or like the Buddha is whatever, most people just go to work the next morning. A
Yeah.
good chunk of people would say it's a hoax, or
Yeah.
all these shattereds of conspiracy theories would go instantly into form about what it really is.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can collectively agree on anything.
Right. I mean,
Anymore.
and even if we did, let's say personally, every single, like,
everyone's like, that happened.
We saw it. It's real. There's aliens, Galactic Federation. It's Star Trek now. You're still going to end up on a UFO flying through space. You go to the bathroom and some asshole pissed on the seat, and you're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Why? You know what I mean? You're still in the human form. You're still stuck. You're still dealing with the same problems. It won't go away. Won't go away. I'm telling you, man, this is the truth. The first time I talked to Ram Dass, I said to him, are you my guru? He goes, yes, now what? It was so awesome. Just popped the balloon in the most brilliant way. Showing me like, okay, sure. You're still just where in the situation you were prior. There's nothing is changing here other than you've whatever you thought was going to save you here or there or that or this thing. It really isn't. I mean, that's the essence of it all, isn't it? This is why in Buddhism we have the realm of the gods. You can become a god. You do enough good work in this incarnation and give and give and give and give. There is a very real possibility you could, incarnate as a god and like have all the answers you're looking for and be the thing that sends the music into the minds of human beings when they feel inspired or whatever it may be. But still, you are dealing with the same problem. You're still going to eventually, via whatever decisions you make, go from the realm of the gods to the realm of the jealous gods. Suddenly, you're fucking Johnny Depp and you're sitting in front of a camera, like with all of your secrets being exposed in front of the world. You know what I mean? You're no longer beautiful fucking Johnny Depp. You're like aging Johnny Depp, and everyone knows you were like in a relationship with someone who's shit in your bed. You know what I mean? And then gradually you're gonna like that. That's just the natural cycle of things. So yes, though I do think it's fun to contemplate all the possible miraculous wonders out there. I'm not convinced that any of it is going to change anything.
Well, I like this great now what. It's almost a sister to Ram Dass's It's Just This.
Yeah.
But it is actually a really fun thing to think about, or it's profound. Like, well, now what? After anything, now what?
Now what?
It's still just this. It's still this.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's it. It's still just the moment. Whatever it may be, the world is flat. We find out the world is flat. The world is actually flat and surrounded by ice walls. And on the other side of the ice walls is where the aliens live. So what? You still have to eat. You still have to figure out a way to get food into your stomach and find shelter. And you still have to have all the same stuff that you're dealing with. Meaning to me, though, that's the liberating. That's where the liberation is because you begin to realize we're kind of in a neutral universe. My meditation teacher, David Nichtern, when we first started working together, and I couldn't meditate, man. I remember saying to him, if I sit for more than like 5 minutes, it feels like I'm on fire. And he goes,
wow.
Just so you know, that's it. That's in you. That's not the meditation that's doing it. That's in you. You're experiencing your own suffering, So that's, I think, the issue of suffering cannot truly be mitigated by fabulous external circumstances. That we might get to distract ourselves in magnificent ways that our culture can't even possibly predict. That might be around the corner. Or as Terence McKenna says, the amount of time between what you can think and what comes into the world will eventually be 0 seconds, just instantaneous manifestation, anything you want. But still.
That would actually probably be a lot of suffering.
Yeah. Everyone would get a great teaching. I mean, I think it'd be incredible teaching because, you can listen to any asshole who's got, enough food and a house and is doing great tell you, this stuff doesn't seem to be making me happy. but you can't get medicine for your kids, pay your rent. You're not sleeping at night because you're so stressed out. It's like, fuck you. If I had these things, I would be more peaceful than I am now. So you can't really answer the question until you like get it for yourself. And then when you start getting it, you realize, oh my God, how am I more stressed out? How am I more freaked out than I was before I had any of this stuff? It seems to actually not be making me more peaceful. It's having the opposite effect. And so if some technology emerged that allowed people to instantaneously experience anything they wanted, what would it be like if I had 50,000 dicks and they were all getting sucked by different people at the same fucking time? Wouldn't you love to know what that feels like? I would, right?
Well, then it'd be 60,000.
Right, exactly. That's how they get you, right? That would be we have to pay for that. 50,000.
It's free for 50,000.
Free, but 60,000
premium dicks.
For every 10,000 dicks. Eventually, whatever it may be, expand yourself out as much as you can via some new technological, neurological interface. Experience the sum total of everyone's feeling all over the planet simultaneously. Whatever it may be, you're still probably going to run into the same problem. There might not be a way out through technology, magic, or any external saving factor.
The economy of scale, like bigger is better, that we're like super wrapped up in right now is really what you're talking about. And we're in this massive like external example of it where everything is quantified, everything is reviewed, everything is data and stats. And that's got to be, I mean, I know as a creator, and you've got to feel what I'm in the middle of too. Like we're just in a sea of that world.
Yes.
And as the older you get, as you're saying, the more you realize like, well, any of this external like success or achievement is not really going to be attached to that inner wealth. And you just start to see it more and more and more. But yet we're in this world, like we're really going head first. We're really committing to this like economy of scale. Bigger is better.
Yeah. Kali Yuga. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I think the more suffering there is, the more you would see an amplification of reaching out, expanding, trying to trying to gratify with increasing intensity. This is for me, like having kids and a family has been revelatory for me, because sitting around the table with my family, just eating biscuits and listening to like country music. We're in the South. I have experienced the highest states of ecstasy and connection with the divine than any of the crazy things that I have done as I've attempted to gratify my senses, And so this is, I like the what do they call it? The Sanatan Dharma, the eternal path, It's very simple. Like Neem Karoli Baba was a family guru. He was always telling people, get married, go and like have a family. Or if you were having problems with your mom or your brother or your sister or whatever, he would send you away to make that work. I've listened to some wonderful conversation he was having with a family. They translated it, and it was just it wasn't like talking about Ram or anything. He was asking questions like, do you all sit at the table when you eat? Things like that. Very simple things that from the perspective of EDC, from the perspective of being in some massive music festival with fucking fireworks and ketamine inhalers or whatever you're doing, and like you're or orgies or fame or any of that stuff could seem as boring could be. And yet gathering around a dinner table with people you love is older than anything. It's like an ocean. This has been something that's been going on for as long as humans have been wandering around. We sit together and we eat, And hopefully we look across the fire of the table at each other and love each other and laugh. And then, which is why maybe there's some wonderful benefit from those of us who have become completely enamored with the external modes of sense gratification that are available to us now, is that when you finally do get lucky enough that you're no longer stuck in your phone or trying to find just the perfect match of psychedelics and fucking and music, when you get lucky enough that you find yourself just doing something normal like that, you might have the most incredible relief when you see, oh shit, right, this is it. Nothing's really changed that much. This is it. This is where it's at. The basic stuff, making food for people, serving them food, helping your community, your micro community, your macro community, just doing that. All the other stuff, fireworks show, that to me is something really beautiful. And that's a cosmic joke too. That's something that will never stop being funny for me, is that sitting around with my family, eating, cooking for my kids, living a life that prior to having it, I always thought is like almost like abject failure, happens to be the most incredible spiritual experience I've ever had in my life. So to me, there's something really funny about that. I mean, just because I'm a fool. It's not like that's news. That's what you read, and Srila Prabhupada talks about it. Everyone talks about it.
But it's like you don't want it to be true early in your life. You don't want it to be true.
No, man.
But then when the truth becomes real to you, it's just like dying into the like you said, the bliss. It's like, fuck. It's always been here, and it's right here, and like it's almost like the family is the core class of the human curriculum in a sense. And we knew it, but we're like, no, it's got to be fame, or it's got to be the money, or the amazing experience,
Threesomes.
Yeah.
Truly. I thought that. You would think that, but you think things like that. You're like, that's the answer. Threesomes. That'll do it. It'll be threesomes. That's what's missing from my life. Well, then you want like a sixsome or something. You know what I mean? That's not enough. Next thing you know, you've got a fucking neural implant from Elon Musk, and you're experiencing what it's like to have 50,000 dicks getting sucked by black holes. And you're like, this isn't enough. These black holes actually are not very good at giving blowjobs.
It's too strong.
Too strong. Hey, I can't get out. Yeah.
There's no escape though, man. Once you go past the event horizon of the blowjob with the black hole, it's
matter
over.
of time. Matter of time. Let me tell you, man, it's a matter of time. When I was a kid, I didn't put my cock in a vacuum cleaner.
In a black hole.
If I was a god, I would put my... Matter of time. If you're a god, you're going to eventually be like, wonder what happens if you put your dick in one of those things.
You cease to exist.
No.
All of that work to become a god, it's over. You're gone.
No, that's the trick. You put your dick in a black hole as a god, it sucks you in and blows you out some other side as a big bang, and that's probably what we all are. We're the shattered fragments of a god that stuck its dick in a black hole. That's all of everything that we are.
That's the cosmic joke. That's it right there. All creation comes from yearning for a threesome.
Yeah, truly.
Oh, God. Well, going back to family.
Yes.
From cosmic blowjobs.
Thanks for helping me write it.
You should definitely keep that bit, man. Definitely go.
I'm writing it down. God's putting
just
dick
doing visual aids
in black hole. The problem, this is like when you're a comedian, you find these scraps of paper around, and you're like, what the fuck did I write that down for?
Where's the angle on that? Well, when you're being a father now, you got two kids.
Yes.
And one of them you named after East Forest, which I think is really sweet.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Of course.
But some people don't want to have kids because they don't feel hopeful
Yes.
about living, really.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, or the world. Let's just say the world, to stay in the world.
Sure.
It takes a brave soul to be alive today. And are you feeling hopeful, or like, in these moments of just like quiescence and everything's beautiful and the simplicity of it? What will you say as they get older, or what do you say, or how do you feel about, bringing more life and being alive as a kid and growing up today?
Yeah. Well, I don't think the way out is to pretend things aren't terrible. There's all kinds of tricks to try to make yourself, feel like things aren't scary. Things are scary. Things are scary right now.
Yeah.
And but I'm pretty sure things are always scary on this planet. Like, I think that's a quality of existing on the planet. At least anytime that's why I love watching documentaries about, historical documentaries, just looking at the various periods we've gone through. And I feel like what happened is we had a kind of a good run from like starting in the post Vietnam. We had a really good run, man. Like, we had the 80s, and what was going on there? People were just mad at Reagan, right? Like, that was pretty much it. Cocaine.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing. We had MTV, synthesizers. Then the 90s were fucking cool. People were starting to get grumpy.
Bill Clinton,
what he's put his,
internet.
He fucked some intern or something. And so I think we had a good run. And then from that, there was people started having this idea about the world that didn't quite match the way things tend to be in the world, which is they just aren't, things here are chaotic and crazy, and there's always wars, and there's always famine, and there's always inequity, and there's always tyrannical sociopaths who just want more and more power. Maybe the difference now is that we instantaneously hear about these things. People will pull their phone out and start filming things, whereas before, if you wanted to see like war footage or that level of brutality, you would have to find it in a newspaper, or now it's right in our face. So, but I don't think that the world has become more insane. I just think our ability to instantaneously see what happens when humans live together is become really powerful. I mean, what's that? There's those things called meerkats, and one of them sits Meerkat Manor. You ever see that show?
No.
It's hilarious. These meerkats, they have a community, they have leaders, they have drama, they're assholes to each other. But one of them has to look out from the top of their little meerkat mound out into the world, and it's like a guard. And if there's a hawk, it like shitters or whatever, and they all run underground. So if that poor fucking meerkat had the internet and could see not just the hawks they had to worry about, but all the other hawks eating all the meerkats who weren't looking, or just was able to see the sum total of all hawks, it would be incredibly stressful for that fucking thing. So a human right now, we are psychologically tangling with predators that we're never going to see. Like, people are really freaked out because this is happening over there, that's happening over there. But statistically, probability wise, the odds are you're probably gonna have a heart attack at some point. I mean, that's just the way people die. You're gonna have a stroke or a heart attack. You could look at the leading causes of death. And even if part of the stuff we have to be worried about, it's not like there isn't the possibility that some lunatic kid's going to shoot you. It's there. It's just the odds are it's not going to be a lunatic kid. It's going to be your girlfriend. You know what I mean? It's going to be
gonna be
someone
you,
around
depressed.
you.
Yeah.
It's going to be you turning the gun on yourself. Anyway, my point is, I think that if you let the vile amygdala inflaming output of the media control your reproductive patterns, then you are making a terrible mistake. That's not a reason to not have kids. Being worried about climate change and the world falling apart and all that stuff, to me, is not the reason to not have kids. The reason to not have kids is because you're not done fucking lots of people. You're not done getting high all the time. You're not done with your like party karma. And that's a fun place to be. And if there's a part of you that's like, no, I just want my freedom. I don't want to like have to wake up in the morning I don't want to have a human alarm clock that I fall in love with, that I have to feed. I don't want to get slapped by a tiny little hand that I just brought milk to. I don't want that. I want to have fun and be in the world and be able to go to Tulum whenever I fucking want. Toss the salads of cam girls. You know what I mean? If that's what you want, then you should do that. Don't have kids. For God's sake, don't have kids. But if there's a part of you that has this sense of like, I'm ready to start a family, don't let fucking Sean Hannity scare you away from having kids, or Rachel Maddow, or whoever the fuck. You know? I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? Nuclear holocaust? You all get evaporate together? So what? It's not that big a deal. It'll happen quick. I'm not an antinatalist. I know that's popular right now, and I get it, you know, but I think it's okay I think you should, I think it's, there's something really quite beautiful, but only if you want to do it. Some people like, they think that they have kids because they can't sober up. You know that? Like some people have kids like they want to give birth to their AA sponsor. It's so sad. Or like they want the kid to be something that's going to change them. That's not a reason to have kids.
Happens a lot.
Yeah. So find someone and you'll know. You fall in love with them and you want to have kids, and then that's when you do it.
But I guess about just trying to like make sense of the world and figure your own shit out and try to be a better person for yourself. I was hearing a connection there as we went through a little timeline of our good times until things started to go a little bit awry with too much information.
Yeah.
The internet, social media, as a proportion of that, clearly plays a huge role.
Yes.
In how we feel, probably polarization on the planet, probably connected to a lot of problems. So, I mean, there is a connection there about like how we consume information and how little control perhaps we really have over it. Like the best minds in the world hooking us in, the iPhone being our new appendage.
Yes.
Just constantly taking in content.
Yeah. We're being manipulated by an AI, by an algorithm. It's Mara.
I mean, the irony that we're sitting here creating content, talking about creating content.
Yeah.
It's a tough road in that way. It's not easy to.
Yeah, but technology can be okay. It doesn't have to all be rotten. Like I just interviewed someone who's doing rainforest preservation, and they get some of what they do is they pay for drones. They pay for high-tech shit that flies over the rainforest to see if there's illegal deforestation happening. And technology is just a tool. The social media stuff and the algorithm and getting sucked into. You have to, like, I had this idiot epiphany at one point when I'm looking at Twitter and I'm thinking to myself, my God, what a shitty service this is. Everyone's just so fucked up on here. And then I realized I followed every one of those people. I chose to follow every single person. They didn't like force me to look at my feed. My feed consists of a kind of...
You curated it.
It's a mirror of my karma, of like my own dark doom scrolling stuff. So it's like, you have to purge your timeline, man. Cleanse it. If you're sick of getting bad news on Twitter, you'll notice it's always a few people you follow or just fucking doom bugles, and just mute them. I just mute them. Then all of a sudden you end up with like your feed will not be so horrible.
So curating your life, curating your feed. I assume you're not a comments person. You don't go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, looking at what the shitty things people say about me?
Yeah, well, comments anywhere, particularly at YouTube or
Yeah,
Twitter.
I'll go in there. If I want a good kick in the balls, I'll fucking take a deep dive into the comments and just like
it's
feel.
this form of S&M.
Yeah.
I really need that right now.
Come on, baby, make me feel bad about my. Yeah, but you just eventually it doesn't whatever. If what they say is true, well, it's true. If what they say isn't true, well, it's just someone who's expressing their suffering online and decided to make you a target of their suffering. But if it's true, it's true. So they did you a favor, especially if it's something you didn't recognize,
Yeah. I want to ask you about women. I don't know if you ever had this experience in a psychedelic experience where, and you kind of spoke to this before, how almost like we're inside this great thing and you get right to some kind of edge and you're like, man, if I go over this edge, it's either total annihilation or not.
Yeah.
And you're terrified in a way. Maybe that's death. I don't know. And you go over that edge, whether you have a choice or not, and then you're held by something. Yes. Almost like the universe is 50.1% love, just to keep the engine turning. And you're just like, thank God for the grace that is what it is as opposed to the other way. Thank God. And that's kind of what you come back with in a way, is like, man, it's all good. But if I had to summarize that, sometimes I was in a nitrous space where it got to that space. And essentially, the only way I could summarize it was like women will inherit the earth, or like it's the feminine, like the fact that we come out of a mother. All things come out of the great mother. So whatever this universe is, even us literally. Yeah. And thank God for that, because that is in essence the thing that you can never escape, the mother. So I wanted to just get into with that in mind, what is, the role of women, the goddess, and I'll leave it at that.
The feminine energy. I mean, okay, I don't mean to keep going back to my boring, sitting around the table eating, but it's like that. I'll make I like to make breakfast for the kids. So I'm sitting around the table, with Forrest and Dune, Aaron sleeping in, which she doesn't do that much. I'm making it seem like I'm Betty fucking Crocker over here. I'm not. She's gets up with the kids usually, thank God. But I'm sitting around the table with these wonderful kids. We're eating. And I'm playing some music that my mom really liked. And I'm realizing that in the connection between me and my kids, and in the something about cooking for them, and in the music, and suddenly I realize this is my mom. This is my mom now. Wow. This is my mom. I'm with my mom. I'm eating with my mom right now. And right when I thought that, Forrest looks up from his pancakes and goes, "You found me." I was so wild. I'm like, I don't know what he meant, but it was just that moment of oh, right. You didn't go anywhere. This was always you anyway. This isn't just you, mom. This is all moms. This is all the moms who are haven't come to be or aren't in their body anymore. You'll find them in those moments where you are just for a second giving, because that's what the feminine does. I mean, you watching Aaron with the kids and witnessing that never-ending love and never-ending patience and never-ending endurance, and also the I don't know how to put it other than the Dharma, the just the fundamental primordial reality that there is in the universe a thing that we call mothers that will hold you when you're crying and love you, even though 10 minutes before you just like pinched their tits as hard as you could for no reason, or bit them on the boob, or like did anything like little kids might do out of an experiment, or just not knowing, or whatever. Absolute forgiveness and absolute love and absolute embrace, and watching, just seeing that appear, and then also knowing it doesn't have to happen. It's nice to have, as Annie Lamont put it, Jesus with skin on. It's nice, but the great news is that when your mom drops her body, she's still there. So that and I know what you're talking about when you're sometimes when you're having a challenging trip, all of a sudden you're being held by your mom again, and because it's the earth, it's the universe, it's the womb of space that we're in.
So in that way, are you hopeful?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm hopeful. I think for me, the hope, so to speak, comes from my work on myself, from realizing like, oh yeah, I don't have to react based on old karmic patterns that I learned from, my parents when they were going through rough times. I don't have to always react like that. And so, over time, very slowly for me, there is a lessening of my habitual reactionary tendencies that only create more bad karma. So to me, that's the hope. If you want hope, the hope is, guess what? You're the one at the wheel here. You're the one who can help. You're the one who can get back on your meditation cushion, or, get back to your therapist, or get back to your exercise routine, or get back to all of the above. You're the one who can do that. That's the great hope. And that's something Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche said, which is, whatever the ism is that you're interested in or think might be the solution to the great problems of the world, communism, socialism, whatever it may be, even before attempting to enact that level of change in your community, try to find harmony in your house, in your home. Try to find peace in your home. And because that's where the real change will come from. He would often talk about how people go to work, they act one way, they get home, it's a whole different person. Now it's an angry person, or a bitchy person, or a, whatever it is, a self-absorbed person or something like that. So who's that person? What's going on there? Why is there a person who's like seemingly compassionate out in the world, but a person who, when they're at home, is, running amok? So having been that person, to me, the hope comes from realizing I don't have to be that person. I can be more patient, kinder, apologetic. I can get back to meditating. I don't have to be some raging out of control thing. That's where the hope is. It has to be. Otherwise you're fucked. Because if you're hoping the people around you are going to get better, woof.
Well, it's like you said, the family being the crucible for the soul's work, but it's also the place of the richest gifts.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be blood relatives or anything like that. It's your community. It's the people around you. It might be your cats. It might, who knows what it is. It might be your relationship with yourself. But that's the hope part. I mean, because let's imagine that it goes the opposite direction than everyone's saying. Let's imagine one of these fucking UFOs flies over the planet, cools it down to the right level, sucks all the carbon out of the atmosphere.
Gives us more oil. They just shoot some oil in the ground.
Put some oil in the ground, whatever it may be, evaporates all the oligarchs and tyrants and fascists, whatever it may be. Let's imagine it happens that way. If you're still going to be angry and selfish and confused and scared. Exactly. So, but let's imagine it isn't that way. Let's imagine that things get worse. Chaos, collapse. You're still going to be of much greater benefit to the people around you if you found a way to be peaceful and kind. When you're hiking down the post-apocalyptic highway, your fucking knapsack and your kids
looking up.
You know what I mean? Maybe don't look up. Maybe look into the moment now and help what's around you now, because then you'll be so helpful then. Either way, if you want to find like a rudder for the ship that you're of your existence, of your incarnation, I think that rudder is exactly what Ram Dass said. We work on ourselves so we can help the people around us. That's the hope. That's the only hope. There's no other hope than that. Change is possible for the better. It doesn't always have to be it doesn't always have to be terrible.
Well, and you could argue it's happening, right? I mean, it's happening whether you like it or not. I mean, the Fool, all these things that we started with, it's like that all plays a role in people discovering and changing from the inside out. It's the only way.
Yeah, man. And it happens every time you realize that thing where normally you would get triggered and normally you would react in a dark way happened, and you didn't freak out. You didn't tantrum. You didn't react in some way. And then, to me, anytime that happens and suddenly you see what your life would look like if every time things didn't go your way, you didn't get scared or angry or reclusive or vengeful or withdrawn, but maintain some equilibrium, and and the rest of your day, instead of being horrible as it usually is, but when you're like going back into your karmic patterns, is actually a great day. That's where things get super cool. That's where you really can imagine as above, so below. If it is possible that in my own personal experience of reality, via a calming down of my reactionary habits, suddenly I'm living in a completely new subjective universe. If that's possible subjectively for just me, then it is possible that it could happen for the entire planet, and that all the new age people are actually not blowing smoke when they say things can actually, on a global scale, change for the better, and change in ways that are so astounding that all that's left to do is sing. All that's left to do is sing praises to the divine. That it is possible that we can all simultaneously have our breath taken away, not via
Freshened.
death,
Yes.
but from the awe of how a planet can actually shift consciousness and frequencies, give up all the old patterns of war, destruction, and aggression, and become something brand new.
Ta-da. I love it, brother.
Yeah.
It's fun. Plenty to work with there. I love it.
Great, man.
Well, that was super fun. I remember doing that, and I'm really excited that the artistic result, the little creation that we were able to make out of that collaborative conversation is now out. The song is called So What, featuring Duncan Trussell. Please, you can hear a bit of it right now in the background. That's Owen Hoffman-Smith on the upright bass, Jens Karras on the drums, myself on piano. It's a trio jamming in the background, and Duncan doing Duncan. But it's on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to music. And check out the video soon, East Forest Music. That's going to blow your mind even more. Thanks again to everyone on Patreon, patreon.com/EastForest. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for walking your walk. Don't take any shit, but if you do it with grace.
Still dealing with the same problems. Won't go away. I'm telling you, man, this is the truth. The first time I talked to Ram Dass, I said to him, "Are you my guru?" He goes, "Yes, now what?" tone in the most brilliant way, showing me like, okay, sure, you're still just where in the situation you were prior. There's nothing is changing here other than you've like, you know, whatever you thought was going to save you here or there or that or this thing, it really isn't. And that's the essence of it all, isn't it? It's still just the moment. Whatever it may be, the world is flat. We find out the world is flat. The world is actually flat and surrounded by ice walls. And on the other side of the ice walls is where the aliens live. So what? You still have to eat. You still have to figure out a way to get food into your stomach and find shelter. And you still have to have all the same stuff that you're dealing with. Meaning, to me, though, that's where the liberation is because you begin to realize you're still probably going to run into the same problem. There might not be a way out through technology, magic, or any external saving factor. Threesomes. That's the answer. Threesomes. That'll do it. That'll do it. It'll be threesomes. That's what's missing from my life. Well, then you want like a sixsome or something. You know what I mean? That's not enough. Next thing you know, you've got a fucking neural implant and you're experiencing what it's like to have 50,000 dicks getting sucked by black holes. And you're like, this isn't enough. These black holes actually are not very good at giving blowjobs. Too strong. Hey, I can't get out. I can't get out. Matter of time. If you're a god, you're going to eventually go, wonder what happens if you put your dick in one of those things. No, that's the trick. You put your dick in a black hole as a god, it sucks you in and blows you out some other side as a big bang, and that's probably what we all are. We're the shattered fragments of a god that stuck its dick in a black hole. That's all of everything that we are. Like having kids in a family has been revelatory for me because sitting around the table with my family just eating biscuits and listening to like country music. We're in the South. I have experienced the highest states of ecstasy and connection with the divine than any of the crazy things that I have done as I've attempted to gratify my senses, you know? Gathering around a dinner table with people you love is older than anything. It's like an ocean. This has been something that's been going on for as long as humans have been wandering around. We sit together and we eat, and hopefully we look across the fire, the table at each other and love each other and laugh, and then, which is why when you finally do get lucky enough that you're no longer stuck in your phone or trying to find just the perfect match of psychedelics and fucking and music, you get lucky enough that you find yourself just doing something normal like that, you might have the most incredible relief when you see, oh shit, right, this is it. Nothing's really changed that much. This is it. This is where it's at. All the other stuff, fireworks show. That to me is something really beautiful. Yeah, I like to make breakfast for the kids, so I'm sitting around the table with these wonderful kids. We're eating and playing some music that my mom really liked, and I'm realizing like in the connection between me and my kids and in the something about cooking for them and in the music, and suddenly I realized this is my mom. This is my mom now. This is my mom. I'm with my mom. I'm eating with my mom right now. And right when I thought that, Forrest looks up from his pancakes and goes, "You found me." I was just that moment of like, oh, right. You didn't go anywhere. This was always you anyway. You, mom, this is all moms. This is all the moms who are haven't come to be or aren't in their body anymore. You'll find them in those moments where you are just for a second giving, because that's what the feminine does. I mean, there is in the universe a thing that we call mothers that will hold you when you're crying and love you. The great news is that when your mom drops her body, she's still there. If you want hope, the hope is, guess what? You're the one at the wheel here. You're the one who can help. You're the one who can get back on your meditation cushion, or get back to your therapist, or get back to your exercise routine, or get back to all of the above. You're the one who can do that. That's the great hope. Try to find harmony in your house, in your home. Try to find peace in your home. And because that's where the real change will come from. And it doesn't have to be like blood relatives or anything like that. It's your community. It's the people around you. It might be your cats. It might, who knows what it is. It might be your relationship with yourself. But that's the hope part. That's the hope part. I mean, because let's imagine that it goes the opposite direction than everyone's saying. Let's imagine one of these fucking UFOs flies over the planet, cools it down to the right level, sucks all the carbon out of the atmosphere, puts some oil in the ground, whatever it may be, evaporates all the oligarchs and tyrants and fascists, whatever it may be. Let's imagine it happens that way. So what? You're still going to be of much greater benefit to the people around you if you found a way to be peaceful and kind. Either way, if you want to find like a rudder for the ship that of your existence, of your incarnation, I think that rudder is exactly what Ram Dass said. We work on ourselves so we can help the people around us. That's the hope. That's the only hope.